welcome everyone. We are welcoming you to this new, unique show for nursing. It's titled Nursing Unlimited, Inspiring Stories of Care and Compassion. Today, we are very happy to interview a very special guest in our studio. This nurse is a special nurse. She is the Chief Nursing Officer and Vice President of Patient Services for St. Joseph's Health in New Jersey. And this nurse is the Chief Nursing Officer, Judy Padula. It's my great pleasure to welcome her. Welcome, Judy, to Nursing Unlimited.
Thank you, Varsha. It's a pleasure to be here.
I would like to say something about Judy. Not only that, I have such a great honor and pleasure working under her leadership, but I have seen her leadership style from time to time in my work hours and my days here at St. Joseph. And when she's sharing her story with us, I want our viewers to see how nursing can make a great impact, not only just patients, but the nurses all around this leader. So I would just get started with my very first favorite question for every nurse leader. Dear Judy, our viewers would really like to learn a lot about you today. And my first question to you would be, and I'm sure you are asked this question a lot of times. So tell us and share your story. How did you get started and why did you choose nursing as your profession?
Thank you for the question, Varsha. And yes, I've been asked it many times. And I don't have any one answer. I just know from a very young age that I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to help people, which sounds very simple, but that's actually the reason. So for a very young age, probably when I was 16, I was a candy striper, which is like a volunteer in a hospital in my community. And then my very first job, I was a nurse's aide at a nursing home in my community. And while I was there, I just had that feeling that I wanted to be a nurse. I enjoyed the feeling of helping others, especially when people were lonely or afraid. I thought that I could make a difference for them, and it was a good feeling. So that's what drew me to nursing. And then watching the nurses I worked with, under those nurses, I saw what they did, and I wanted to be like them.
Thank you, Judy. Every person who is in this profession now, they really have this great sense of care and compassion within them, and that draws them to this profession, which is such a multifaceted profession. You can care for the patient, you can share their concerns and complaints and try to do everything in your best capacity. So taking this further, we would really like to know your experience in your nursing school and how you looked at your faculties, and if there were any those incidences or stories that you have to share where your desire to become nurse and bring that desire to care for patients, how it was cultivated when you were in your nursing school.
Yes, education is very important, and I've been through a lot of education in my nursing career. I started off in an associate's degree program. I graduated in 1979, a long time ago. And I was encouraged right away to go back for my bachelor's degree because nursing as a profession really was pursuing that as our entry level at the time. So I went right back to school and got my bachelor's degree, and I began working. And then from the faculty, they did encourage me, and I had others throughout my career encourage me to continue that education. So I did go back and get my master's degree in advanced practice. And then obviously I went for certification, and I continue to do education courses throughout my career. I think it's very important to continue your education throughout your career. And I had many wonderful faculty members along the way who mentored me, encouraged me, and helped me get to where I needed to be. Helped me make decisions about what track I wanted to go on, gave me encouragement and support when it seemed difficult. But it was because of those faculty that it got me to where I need to go. And that's why we find it very important here at St. Joseph's that we have a lot of nursing schools, universities in the area who utilize our facilities for their education. And we encourage that because we know that's very, very, very important to maintain those partnerships with all of the education throughout the state of New Jersey.
Thank you, Judy. That's actually really important to know that you are fostering education within this organization from your experience, and you really truly believe that education is an important tool for any nurse to grow in their role. So I would like to take a little bit further and ask you, can you share some things that you are doing at St. Joe's Health, especially for the nurses, to support their education and foster them in their leadership role in future?
Sure. So obviously education is very, very important. We want to have the most educated nurses taking care of our patients, up to date with what's happening in the nursing world and the medical world as well. So we do have a very robust education program, tuition reimbursement program, which I've been a part of, increasing that over the years. We encourage nurses to go back to school. We help them with their schedule, very flexible with their schedule, encouraging them to continue their education. We are a magnet facility, so we do offer a lot of opportunities in that respect. We have a lot of advanced practice nurses. We encourage the education track. We have certification. We offer classes for certification, so the nurses in each specialty know everything there is to know about that specialty. We have in-house education. We promote outside education as well. We do reimburse staff to attend outside conferences because it's always great to hear a perspective from outside your institution as well. So it's a good way to network and hear what's happening, not just in the state, but across the country and across the world.
That's a great way to foster the nurse through education. Thank you, Judy. Now I'm going to focus a little bit on you, and we would really like to know your journey. And as you said that you started when you were 16 as a candy striper, and from your journey from that role to a nursing student and then a nurse, and then now a chief nursing officer. So everyone is curious, like, hey, that's a great example. We want to know, how did you do it? So that we can look at that example and say, hey, we would like to follow this leader. So please share that story with us, Judy.
Sure. It was a long time ago, but to me it seems like yesterday. So starting out, I don't think any nurse knows exactly what they want to do. I really just wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to take care of patients, and I wanted to learn as much as I could. I worked with some wonderful nurses that mentored me, and I did look up to those who were in charge. I think I had an organized thought pattern. I liked organization. I liked coordinating the care of patients, and so I felt that challenge. First, I worked on a med-surg unit as a new nurse, as many do. And there I developed time management skills, I developed assessment skills, communication skills, all which are very important, and it's not something you can be taught. It's something you develop over time. I learned how to talk to patients, how to talk to families, how to work with physicians and work with colleagues. And so I guess because of my organizational skills, I was promoted at the time to charge nurse. So being in charge, I enjoyed making a difference for the other nurses and staff on the floor by organizing patient care, focusing on physicians and helping them get what they needed, helping patients achieve their goals and be discharged home, and working with families as well. So I was always willing for a challenge, and so I had a lot of great mentors that identified that in me. And so I was offered other roles and positions along the management track. So I became a nurse manager. I worked then on a geriatric floor for about 10 years. It was a brand new acute care geriatric unit. And so it was a new way to deal with the elderly population, to segregate them and focus on their special needs. I worked with a great medical director. And during that time, she encouraged me to go back to school for an advanced practice degree, which I did. And then again, being open to new challenges and opportunities, I eventually found my way to surgical services, first as a nurse manager in the operating room, and then assisted with the building of a new ambulatory surgery center, and then building new operating rooms and creating new departments and then ultimately became the director of the surgical services department, where I was for about 18 years. In between there, I did work as a director of med-surg, and then eventually the chief nursing officer. Again, not something I thought of when I was a new nurse, but my path led me here, and I feel my experience put me in a good position to do this role. But what I love about this role and leadership roles in general is I not only help the patient now, I feel like I help the nurse as well. We want to make sure our nurses have the right environment to work in so they can take good care of our patients. So taking care of the nurses and taking care of the patients is very important. I've enjoyed a wonderful relationship with the physicians because that's also very important to be collaborative. I think the physicians at St. Joseph's Health respect the nurses very well. And so there's a great relationship there. Nurses can learn from physicians and physicians learn from nurses. So I think being that catalyst between the two has helped a great deal. I support the nurses. I want the nurses to know they're heard. We have a lot of avenues for them to speak. Again, as being a magnet facility, we have practice councils where staff nurses are involved. We include them in everything we do because they're at the front lines. They know what's happening. And if I want an answer to a question, they can usually give it to me. Suggestions from the nursing staff is very important because in order to get someone to buy into your ideas, they have to be part of them. So I've enjoyed a very wonderful career and hope to enjoy one for some time longer.
That was a great story, Judy. Thank you for sharing with us. And I'm sure a lot of viewers will be inspired just listening to this story. And I just want to point out that our viewers are not just nurses. These are our community members and people, not only in the United States, more maybe across the world. And I just want you to answer this. What do a nurse do? Because generally, common people, our community people, they really do not have a clear idea about what a nurse can do. Consider your role, and then there are directors in the system, and there are many more leaders in the system. So if you can just throw some light on how nurses make a difference to a patient's life.
So I think a lot of people probably see television shows and things like that. And unless you're a patient, you don't really know exactly what a nurse does. But when you are a patient, you'll never forget what a nurse does. A nurse is with you all the time. She makes sure that whatever the physician's plan of care for you is, that she enacts that plan. She encourages, supports, obviously gives medication, does treatments, all of those things, but really coordinates all of the care so that you meet your milestones along the way, that you recover as planned, and she's there for support, or he's there for support. Many times I've been privileged to sit with patients and they share with you their thoughts, their anxieties, their fears, and just a couple of words by the nurse or sitting next to someone holding their hand makes them feel so much better, helps them along their healing process, and they can ask questions of the nurse. The patients often wait till after the physician leaves and then asks all the questions to the nurse. So the nurse has to be knowledgeable in what she's talking about and make sure that she can explain it in a way that the patient and the patient's family can understand. Because I think it's very relieving for patients and their families to know I can go home and I can relax and I can trust that that nurse is going to take such good care of my family member. My goal has always been to treat each patient as if it was my own family. And so I know when I have a family member in the hospital or sick, it makes me feel 100% better when I speak to the nurse and I hear what's going on and they keep me informed and I can tell they really have a sense for caring for my family member.
Thank you, Judy. That was well said. And I think as working in St. Joe's, I have seen the care and compassion. The whole culture is reflecting on our patient care so well. I know that recently you managed a very critical situation past 3 months very successfully. And if you would like to share that a little bit, how did you manage that? It was not easy.
So along with everyone else, we were hit with COVID-19 pretty quickly and it developed very rapidly. So I think we all put our heads together and worked collaboratively. I think that's what made the difference. I spent a lot of time coordinating how we were going to care for patients. Most 100% of the nurses and the staff within the hospital stepped up to the plate, worked together to get whatever we needed done. People came up with good ideas. They worked together. I was in awe of the nursing staff who came day after day and cared for those patients for all those hours in very difficult situations, and were there for the patients and there for the families. We could not have visitors at that time, so there was a lot of FaceTiming and phone calls, but the nurses knew how important it was to keep those family members up to date, but to keep those patients feeling safe too. It was a very scary situation. We had to hire a lot of agency nurses to come in quickly. We opened about 150 additional beds between all our campuses, mostly critical care. We had a lot of patients on ventilators. We had to educate nurses quickly who were not used to taking care of these kind of patients, but they were up to the task, and I think everyone did a fantastic job. It shows you that when things get tough, the person you want at your side is a nurse, because they can step up to any challenge and they can get through it.
Thank you, Judy. That's an example of a great leadership again. And I know that you are a strong believer of self-care. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to say a couple of words about that, especially for nurses.
So here at St. Joseph's Health, we do practice patient-centered care, which is very important. The patient's at the center of everything. But our theorist is Jean Watson, who talks a lot about self-care. So we know if the nurse doesn't take care of themselves, it's very difficult for them to take care of the patient. So we do promote self-care 100%. And especially, we've been talking a lot about it since COVID-19, because many of the nurses did not have a chance to take care of themselves, and we want to make sure that they do that, especially now. They've been through a tragic experience, and we want to make sure that they take care of themselves afterwards. So we have a lot of services available for our staff, but we also have what we call Watson rooms. Jean Watson is our theorist, and what it is like a meditation room. Almost every nursing unit has one, and it's a place to go any time of the year, not just during this difficult time, but any time that a nurse or any staff member, we offer it to our other staff members as well, needs to find a quiet place just to sit down. Maybe they just had a CPR, or they just had a trauma, and they need to sit down and just be quiet and think through their thoughts before they go back to what they were doing. We have a holistic nurse who does do meditation sessions and prayer-centered healing. All during the COVID pandemic, we had virtual meditations 4 times a day, all through the night, and many of the nurses called in and were involved in that, and it was a way to help them relieve some of their stress. So we know how important it is for nurses to take care of themselves so that they can take care of our patients.
Thank you so much for that update about self-care, because you said it so correctly. If we don't take care of ourselves, we will not be able to provide the right kind of care to our patients. What is Judy Padula's message to the nurses who are actually working in the profession, and multiple students who are looking at nursing as their career, and those who are leaders like you currently working? So we would really appreciate if you could share your unique message with all of us.
Throughout my career, I've heard about historical events. Many of you listening probably have as well, where there was pandemics or emergencies throughout the world, and who was always at the center of that? Nursing. And I think although it was a terrible time this last few months, we are now part of history, because I think it's nursing that helped us get through this pandemic. And it will be nursing in the future that will help us get through whatever we go through in the medical world. But I think that the biggest thing is to live up to that challenge. If you want to make changes in the world as a nurse, becoming a leader and being part of that change is very important. To sit back and let others make that change for you is not the way to go. Change will be made, and you should be part of it. And I look forward to the next generation of nurses, because I think there's a lot more that nursing can add to the profession, and I'm just excited to see what's next for them.
Thank you so much, Judy. That was actually a very, very powerful message, and actually points on a very significant aspect of how a nurse can elevate herself in their own role by being the change. I would say this interview and this conversation is going to inspire many who are going to watch this and reach out to their family and friends and other nurses, giving an example. Look at this. This is how the nurses are, unlimited in their role, unlimited in their duties and jobs and function. I really appreciate your time and participation in this unique show, which is all about nursing. Thank you for being that unique nurse and continue to inspire all of the nurses around you. I know
Thank you.
I'm inspired. Thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you, Varsha. Thank you for having me. And thank you to all of you that are listening. I want to say one last thing, that I've always felt that being a nurse is not my job. Being a nurse is who I am. And I think that's true for many nurses. It's who you are that make you a nurse. And I'm proud of all the nurses out there. Thank you. So you want me to say something special? It's a wonderful job with the stroke program. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Nursing Unlimited. This was with Judy Padula, the Chief Nursing Officer of St. Joseph Health, Paterson, New Jersey. If you like this episode, we have many more stories for you to share and learn from it. That nurses are doing much more than just doing the nursing job. Taking care of patients, contributing to healthcare, managing complex healthcare system. And again, if you are a nurse and if you have a story, then don't hesitate, contact us. You never know, you will be talking to me soon. Continue to watch Nursing Unlimited on IndusTV. This is Varsha Singh. I'll be back again with another interesting story of a very special nurse. Thank you for watching.